Good afternoon, everybody. This is Niall Strickland. Welcome to our Roos Consulting Leadership Challenge Series, Session 3. Thanks for coming in today. I hope you've been getting lots of benefits out of our sessions over the last couple of weeks. This particular session today is about showing leadership in knowing thy customer. Without customers, all our businesses will fail, so therefore we have to honor our customer. We welcome discussion throughout our presentation, so please type in questions or observation into the text box near the bottom of your GoToMeeting panel, and we'll try to respond to you during this webinar. If you're into us through telephone, if there's a gap in the conversation, please jump in, introduce yourself, and make your comments or questions known to us. This webinar, like the others, will run for about 45 minutes. You can contact us by email at info@roosconsulting.com if you have any questions and don't want to do it online, or if there's any observations that you want to make. If you have any technical difficulties during your call, Julie will be standing by on her mobile, and you can text her at 917-689-9895. Mind maps for this session and indeed the replays of the YouTube sound files will be available on the roosconsulting.com website if you should want to listen to them again or to share them with any of your colleagues. Thanks for joining us again tonight, and we now hand it over to Larendee, who's going to talk about know thy customer and love him.
Thank you so much, Neil. The customer piece of any business is one that I'm very passionate about, and it's in my estimation, the most important piece that as a business owner and entrepreneurs, we can maybe miss on a few things here and there, but how we treat our customers and knowing our customers is one that we just simply cannot miss on. And so it's why whenever I go into organizations, I always spend a decent amount of time trying to dig deep to find out if the customer I'm working with understands who their customer and end user is and what they do to continue and foster and nurture that relationship. And because if our customers feel nurtured and engaged with us, they will continue to come back time and time and time again. So let's talk about Customer Service 101. And this is just the bare basic minimum requirement. So the most basic thing that we need to understand and be integrated throughout our organizations is this piece. And basically what it is it comes from a little bit different place than knowing who our customer is. There's another side to the same coin, and that is knowing who we are. If we know who we are, why we do what we do, then it makes it much easier for us to have conversations with our customers where our customers don't feel manipulated or they're not in contrived relationships. Also, if we know who we are and why we do what we do, what we're passionate about, we will naturally attract to ourselves those people that are going to be our best customer. It also helps us make decisions about the type of relationships I should have with my customer. And then it takes us to the next point of understanding, why does my customer have benefit? How does being in relationship benefit my customer? And what's the mutual alignment that we have as a result of that? And the bottom line is, if I don't love what I do, why would my customers honor my process, honor my services, or honor my product if I can't bring enthusiasm to the table every time we meet? So if we want to thrive and not just survive, we need to know who we are, why we do what we do, love what we do, love our customers, and that all takes investment. And it takes time, and I would say even more than a lot of money. It takes a lot of time and fine-tuning and also a lot of self-introspection that eventually brings us to a place of self and corporate actualization that makes us more attractive. Or lets customers decide whether we're the right fit for them, right? Because we don't need to serve millions and millions of customers. We just need to have a small piece of a very much smaller pie. We don't need to serve the universe, because the truth is we can't. We're setting ourselves up for failure if we're just going to market to the masses. When we understand that piece, then we can enter into this amazing love relationship with our customers, where we protect their interests, where we nurture them, where we look for opportunities and ways to provide additional services and value to them. And when that all occurs, an amazing thing also occurs, that our bottom lines are improved, and that as we're in this mutually beneficial relationship, our bottom line improves either because they buy additional goods and services from us, they tell other people about us, and then the system goes on. So we need to listen, we need to innovate, which is what adding additional value and services are, and then stay in touch with them consistently and frequently. And we need to, the more systematic we are about this, the more successful we will be, the more our customers will honor our process and feel like they're important to us. Any thoughts on that, Neil?
Yeah, sure. I mean, one of the interesting things about our collaboration is that you're based in New York and I'm based in Dublin, Ireland. We have tremendous experience in working with lots of different industries, and by interacting with lots of different customers and lots of different industries, we gain a lot of intelligence and knowledge while we're out there. And what we try and do is bring that back into the center where our customers and clients can actually benefit from that knowledge. So, you know, if you treat your customer as king at the end of the day, because they are the king, they will respond to you. And it's not just in the context of how we work our business, it's in the context of our audience out there tonight, that if they honor their downstream customers in the same way and bring knowledge and information and intelligence to them, it serves everybody, and it's good for business.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. We have a question coming in from one of our participants where they're concerned about, you know, that sometimes they worry about staying in touch, as though, you know, a customer might perceive that as hounding or stalking. So how do I get around that? How do I get around this feeling, you know, that I'm going to be stalking or hounding my customers?
My particular take on it at the end of the day is that you don't send a lot of unwanted communications to your customer. You don't harass them. But what you do bring is value to them. So if something that impacts on their business or on them personally, and you'll know them personally from your relationship with them, if you bring something of value to them, it'll never be seen as harassment at the end of the day. So how often do you do this? I mean, lots of people in the expert industry say weekly is okay. You know, fortnightly or every 3 weeks, you're not really keeping in touch or hounding people if that's kind of the regularity with which you touch base with them. But I kind of feel once a week is probably okay. But what do you think?
Right. I think you know, once a week to every 10 days should be probably the outside. Now I will tell you that we slip in our own organization on this. We do really well for about 4 to 6 weeks, and then we'll slip and we miss a week. The whole point is to just get back on track as quickly as we can. And when we put information out there for our customers, if we're just what I call passing the cupcakes, it's actually a pretty nice way for them to decide if they want to continue the engagement, right? We're passing the cupcakes and they can take it or they don't need to take it. And also the beautiful thing with email services today is they just hit unsubscribe, and you know, maybe they may engage with us in a different way, but they don't need to be bombarded by emails or whatever. So lots of choices. And
yeah, the other thing is you want them coming to us as well, looking for guidance.
Right.
you know, it's not like we have a clock on our desk like a lawyer has for you clocking in every couple of minutes that you do for a client. You know, we like to think that our clients in many cases are our friends as well, and that they can pick up the phone or drop an email and get a little bit of guidance from time to time. So it's that kind of openness of relationship that counts at the end of the day. If you have those kind of relationships, I don't think anybody could ever accuse you of stalking or hounding them.
Right. So let's go ahead and move on. So one of the mentors that I've been working with that really helped turn my own business around is a gentleman by the name of Michael Port. Highly recommend anyone who's in the service business, anyone who wants to grow their practice, whatever that practice is, picking up a copy of his book called Book Yourself Solid. And he has a few other books as well. But one of the things, a few of the things that I learned from him that I kind of knew intuitively, but I just didn't have the language around it, and I think that's probably why I aligned with him so well. And, you know, Neil and I talk about this frequently in our own relationship within Roos Consulting and in our strategic partnership, but also as we put ourselves out there to the world, that we want to follow our bliss. There's lots of different things that we could choose to do on a given day, but we love working with medium-sized businesses to get in, understand what their challenges are, and help them get to real tactical and strategic solutions. And that makes us really happy. We love doing that. So in that regard, we are following our bliss. And again, you know, hearkening back to what we talked about before, we love what we do. And so really every day, I haven't worked a day on this particular business segment in 10 years. Really, it hasn't felt like work because I feel so energized and so in love with the process and in love with my customers. And also, as I honor my bliss, then my customers get the best part of me, right? And then that builds loyalty on both sides because I show up to my, Neil and I show up to our customers ready, willing, and able to go to work, and we roll up our sleeves and we get in there. And we provide very solid tactical solutions for our customers. Any thoughts on that, Neil?
Yeah, I mean, we're married to the idea of win-win or walk relationships. If everybody's not winning and somebody is taking advantage of somebody in a relationship, it's not a relationship. So we will work with people and organizations that are aligned with our own innovation and integrity, and that way we all win. It'll never be a win-lose or a lose-win situation. It's win-win or walk, always with us.
Right. Very good. And then the next thing is that everything we do, we really do from our heart. And for us, we concentrate on the value that we're providing, and certainly we price ourselves so that there is a certain filter, that there are certain people we do our best work with, so we may not be the most inexpensive consultant that you can find, but if we can come to a mutual meeting of the minds, again, going back to the win-win or walk, then what Neil and I focus on, what Roos Consulting focuses on, whether it's in our consulting business or our recruiting division, is that we concentrate on the work and the value that we're providing and not necessarily just all the money that comes out the back end. Our value comes from helping to build great companies and to deliver specific, strategic, and tactical systems that we know have worked in, day in and day out. And as we continue to deliver value to our customers, then they continue to come back because either on an emotional, physical, spiritual, financial level, they've chosen us to be their partner, so we don't have to worry about constantly, are they going to be here tomorrow, or are they not going to be here tomorrow? Because again, it's a relationship buy, right? Not a commodity purchase. So we do it from the heart. Neil, I read I think we talked about this last week, that when I was early on in my career learning about customer service, I read The Marriott Way by Bill Marriott, and or not The Marriott Way, I'm sorry, it's The Heart of a Servant, or Call to Serve, something like that, about the service, the servant, the customer, the person who provides customer service from heart will always win. And certainly we see that in the Marriott model, right? Internationally well-known company that has continued to deliver on their promises over and over again, because when you visit a Marriott property, everyone from the top down is fully integrated from a place of the heart.
Yeah, and this isn't necessarily about us either, Larendee, or our business. What we're trying to reflect out there to our audience is the fact that if they emulate those strategies, they will become winners too. And in fact, many of them are already doing it and know exactly what we're talking about. So the purpose of bringing this up tonight really is to put it out there yet again for people to understand the importance of honoring the customer and being of service to them, because that's what makes business go round, not just in our particular business.
Right. Very good. Let's move on to getting all the clients your heart desires, because that's when you're first starting out in your business, or if you're moving your business into a new segment, this whole idea of client acquisition can be a little bit scary, right? And so again, hearkening back to someone that Roos Consulting is currently working with, and that's the Michael Port organization, and we're working with them in their certified Book Yourself Solid Coaches training program, and so we want to give appropriate credit for that. But again, I think the reason we attached to it, Neil, was because it's how we were viewing the world anyway, and so, but it was a great platform for us to build on. So we're just going to touch these, and just in the interest of time, we're going to touch on each pivot point. When you receive the PowerPoint presentation or the Mind Genius presentation, there'll be a complete synopsis for you, and if we have specific questions, you can come back to that. But basically what we're trying to do is build a strong foundation so that when our clients decide to place their trust in us, they have a firm foundation on which to land. Sometimes when we're not exactly sure who we are, what we're about, what we offer, when we get into sales conversations with people, or even after the sales process, sometimes we get a little frightened, or a little unsure, might be a better word, and that's when we get into kind of the gooey side, right? We've all had different experiences when we've been in either a sales conversation or part of a working relationship, and we weren't exactly sure how we should present on a specific topic. But if we take the time to know who we are, what we're about, excuse me, and why we do what we do, then we build a firm foundation so that when our clients land, then there's a solid firm foundation there for them. And through that foundation, we build a really strong personal identity and a personal brand that we continue to put out there, and then we can hearken back to no matter what happens. I was working with a client yesterday, Neil, who, from a corporate perspective, the corporation, you know, the leaders at the top felt like they have a really good, solid, here's who we are, here's what we're about. But some of the sales teams inside of the organization weren't exactly sure. So one of the steps that we walked through with them yesterday is, how do I as an individual be fully self-expressed inside of this organization as I represent that organization? Same principles apply, whether you own your own business or whether you're inside of a corporate organization and you're trying to figure out how you can be of best maximum service to that corporation and then the end users. It's the exact same process. Any comments on the foundation part of it? from anyone in the audience? Okay. We could spend a whole webinar just on this piece alone, but we'll go ahead and move on. And how do we do it? We do it one step at a time, okay? Piece by piece, step by step. Neil and I do our best work with organizations and with customers who are comfortable with systems and processes. And also, you know, sometimes even within our own organization, we've had people who, partners who haven't wanted to, you know, take the time to write down and do the systematic process. But ironically, the more busy you are, the more systems you need to have in place. Otherwise, you're just running around chasing the bouncing balls like Neil referenced last week. And so the step-by-step, ahead of the game, ahead of time, really makes a lot of sense. So there's several rules on this step-by-step process, but the biggest thing is to always think bigger. And I'm not just talking dollar signs. I'm just saying that sometimes it's interesting. It's kind of ironic. We want to go to the masses because we want to make a lot of money, but then we think really small. Or we are kind of narrow in how we, you know, because of fear or self-limiting beliefs or lack of systems, we play really small. When what we really need to do is always to be thinking bigger and having mindsets that help us to think bigger. Any thoughts on that, Neil? On either the building your foundation?
I'm just conscious that we have a big program to cover this evening, so I'm kind of happy to let you proceed on this until we get to the end of this section, and then we can maybe have a talk at that stage.
Okay, sounds great. So now the next thing is that when we're talking about how do we put ourselves out there, how do we put ourselves out in front of our clients so that we can get all the clients that our heart deserves, either by getting more clients or by expanding the offerings that we're currently offering to our clients. And we do that through 7 self-core promotion strategies. These are not new. These are strategies that we all have been using for a very long time, but just want to highlight and touch on them again. There are 4 that we must do. They are not optional if we want to grow our market or if we want to go into a new market. And that is, we must network, we must do direct outreach, we must do referrals, both giving and receiving, by the way, and we need to keep in touch. So briefly talking about each of those, the networking strategy that we're talking about is that we're going to create deeper relationships with people we already know. What we are not going to do, and what this doesn't mean, I'm not going to say don't do it, but what I'm saying is that what this does not mean is that we run around to every networking event in town, paying $20 per networking event, having too many drinks, and not getting into deep relationships. If now attending networking events is part of my strategy, I need to also be thoughtful about what type of networking event should I attend because the people that I'm going to do my best work with are there. And I focus in on 1 or 2. And then I focus and I dig really deep. And I drive that line really deep. And I spend a significant amount of time in that small network of maybe 30 to 40, 50 people creating deeper, solid relationships rather than running to every networking event around town. And we'll talk maybe we'll do another series specifically on this, but in the interest of time, we'll move on. Direct outreach is not cold calling. Now, I'm not saying don't cold call, because there are plenty of businesses where cold calling is part of the equation. At Roos Consulting, we do cold calling. But it is not our primary focus. What I'm talking about direct outreach is we think about the people that we don't yet know that we need to know within a specific industry or industries, or within a specific geography and industry, and we get really narrow and get very focused on those industries, that geography that we want to serve, and then we find people in that industry who can help us get where we want to go. find people in that geography who can help us get where we want to go. And we start to develop, again, relationships with those people. And we don't do it in a completely selfish way. We actually get to know those people, what they're about, and then it becomes, again, a mutually beneficial win-win or walk relationship, where I'm contributing to their network, they're contributing to mine, and we're developing a relationship. The next thing we do is referrals. Now, how many of us are really good about asking for referrals? I personally don't do the best job of this myself. It's something that I'm improving my muscles on right now, doing some workout on. In this particular piece, the referrals is actually not what you might think. What we do differently in this model is that we make referrals to our network, people that we believe will help serve the people in our network. We do that consistently, frequently, and then after we've invested, we go back to those people that we've had a relationship with and might have a conversation such that, you know, Neil, I've referred a few people to you that have hopefully helped grow your business. How's that working out? And he tells me the great success that he's having, and he's appreciative of those relationships. And after I've made that investment, then it's a much easier question to ask. Do you think there's anyone in your network that I could be of service to? So it's not saying, hey, on our first meet and greet, Neil, who do you know that I need to talk to? It's over time, and after I've identified and met a need for Neil, then I go back and ask for that referral. And we can do, go ahead.
I was just going to jump in there quickly. I mean, the way we tend to look at it is you actually give referrals before you look to receive them.
That's right.
So you're putting out something for people that's of benefit to them, and then at some stage there's reciprocity. They'll come back and do the same for you. So you take the lead role of giving first, and then you will receive.
That's exactly right. So we're working together. We're developing a relationship, right? We're not. It's not just we're not developing a one-hit wonder type of situation. And then the next thing is that we keep in touch. And I'm not just talking about email blasts. I'm talking about that we decide people within our network who that we have a good working relationship with or a good reciprocal relationship with, and we keep in touch with them consistently and frequently. And, you know, we might have some people that we feel like it's beneficial for us to talk to them once a week via email or a phone call, or maybe once a month, whatever that looks like, but we keep in touch with them, and therefore we're building our brand, we're building our relationships, which then ultimately turns into more business. The things that are optional that you can do if you love doing them, but you don't have to do, are three things. The first thing is, and these are not in any specific order, is if you enjoy speaking and you own a hair salon, for example, you want to bring more business into your hair salon, or you want to have more meaningful relationships with a smaller network of women and men who need your services, you could set up a networking event where you did a presentation and you spoke at that presentation. But if you don't enjoy speaking, you don't have to speak. So there's a lot of noise out there that if you want to grow your brand and grow who you are, you must be a public speaker. A great strategy, and if you're good at it and you like it, you should do it. Neil and I enjoy speaking. We enjoy the repartee of us speaking and conversations coming back. It's one of the reasons we do these series. But if it's not your cup of tea, you don't need to do it. Writing. Writing can include email blasts, blogging, writing for different magazines, industry publications. Again, if it's something you're good at and you enjoy doing, or maybe not even something you're good at, but something you enjoy doing, put it out there. You know, one of our colleagues, Mark and I attended a training last week, And one of the things that came up was that sometimes we worry that we're not good enough or we won't do it the right way. And then we spend all this time not doing anything at all. Sometimes we just need to start doing the right things, and we will learn how to do it in the right way as we go along. The final piece is a web strategy. Now, I think everyone should have at least a one-page website that says who you are, what you do, and even why you do it, and then tells your customer what you want them to do next, right? But you don't have to have a very in-depth 10-page website for every single, every single company out there doesn't need this long, protracted, deep strategy. If you're selling retail goods and services and you want people to come online to buy your retail goods and services, okay. But it doesn't have to be. So what I'm saying is your web strategy, depending on the market that you're serving and depending on what your end goal is, you might spend a lot of time or you might not spend as much time. So it is optional. I will tell you that for 8 years I ran my consulting practice without a website and was plenty booked up, had plenty of business. Now, being a good student of my own work, about 3 years ago decided, Larendee, if you're preaching the importance of a web strategy, you better have a website. So, I had to put it on my project list of things to do. But all I'm telling you is through networking, direct outreach, and referrals, and keeping in touch with the people I was working with, I built a full-on consulting practice. So, any thoughts on that, Neil?
Yeah, I've been writing for a good number of years on various e-zine article websites, which get syndicated all around the world as well. And it's just effectively sharing my thoughts on business, what's good business practice, things you should do, things you shouldn't do. And over time you build up a profile on those, and it attracts traffic to your website. You get emails, you get phone calls as a result of delivering value out there. And so it's sharing your knowledge. So although you and I enjoy the speaking side of it, the writing one is something that really resonates with me because I do it on an ongoing basis, and then often turn them into videos afterwards so that people who don't want to read can actually see it on video. So they would be my two favorites. Web strategy, for most small and medium businesses, you need to have a web presence right now. There are differences of opinion as to whether social media is what it's all about now, or whether email marketing is still top of the list in terms of communicating with your constituents.
Right, and sometimes you have to try it and see what works. What might work for one business doesn't work as well for another, and there can also be lots of different reasons why it might work for one and not for another. So, so moving on, then we have the complete cycle. So we've once we figure out who we are, why we do what we do, and what we're about, our customers come to us. Over time, we build a relationship through these different strategies, and then they come back over and over and over again. So it becomes a complete cycle. And then we continue to, again, nurture those relationships, and then we add value. We might add services, we might add segments, but again, it just kind of repeats itself over and again. Moving on, the 3 W's that we need to remember is who we are, why we do what we do, and then be very plain speaking about it. So for example, at Roos Consulting, we love to get the results you need, period. We do that through very strategic and tactical ways and methodologies that help improve your life personally, financially, spiritually, and physically, and full stop. So hopefully that's, you get the example of a very specific what we do, plain and simple. Now how we do it, that's a different discussion, but what we do is very direct and very clear. So that's the 3 W's of our who, why, and what. But then we have our customers, them, right? So what is the result they get from us helping them? What's the big bottom line result that they get? What are the financial, spiritual, and physical benefits that they get? If we can't clearly articulate that for them, not just when we're having the sales conversation, but over and over and over again through what we do and consistent communication, then they're not going to understand us and they're not going to continue to come back. So very, very key and very important parts. So the bottom line is to this piece of it is that we clearly understand these who we are, why we do what we do, how we do it, and then what our customers can expect as a result of us doing it, and that improves their bottom line, right? So the bottom line is, what do our customers need and desire from us, and why are we even special to them? Why do they choose us? You know, they can choose to work with anyone. Why do they choose us? And then we keep improving and deepening that relationship and that over time. When that happens, we start to get leverage, because what happens is we don't have to do all the heavy lifting through client acquisition. People start to talk about us, and the word spreads. It's very similar to the restaurant industry, Neil, where you go and have a good steak at Texas Roadhouse or Outback Steakhouse, and you have a great experience, so you tell 3 to 5 people. Conversely, if you don't have a good experience, you probably tell 15, right? But the bottom line is we spread that message, and that organization gets leverage because of good experiences we had. And it's the same thing no matter what business you're in. That's why, again, I'm such a huge proponent, and I love talking about this topic. I will tell you that I started working at Roos Consulting. We started working with an owner about 6 years ago in New York City when rents weren't good, and we were just coming out of we were going into a bad recession. And through practicing the principles of knowing who our customers were, what they needed, and delighting them every single day, we've had anywhere from 7 to 10% revenue growth year on year. We've been able to cut expenses because we've been able to cut out lard factor. So just met with the owner yesterday, and again, for the 6th straight year in a row, we are delivering over $100,000 to $200,000 each year back into his bank account that he didn't have before, based on this simple principle alone. So the relationship starts, and we just need to continue. People find their way to us, and we need to continue to nurture over and over again. How did they find their way to us? Through one of the 7 core self-promotion strategies. Again, networking, direct outreach, and then referral. We're not going to spend a ton of time on the referral process. We'll maybe get to that at a later point. I want to go down to the bottom one where it talks about measuring. What gets measured gets done. We all know the SMART goals, right? That the goals need to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time specific. You will do these things. You will do these 7 core self-promotion strategies. You will love your customer. You will spend more time figuring out what they love about you, why they continue to come back and buy over and over again when you have systems in place where you measure it. You hold yourself accountable. You track it. You review it. You modify it, and you repeat it. Neil, any thoughts on that? Any questions from any of our callers? If you're calling in via phone line, feel free to speak up. Okay.
I think you're doing just fine there.
Okay, great. Let's move on to what we do. So we talked about, you know, in a nutshell, a lot of these things. At the bottom of the line, we start with a thorough analysis of the status quo. So wherever we are in our relationship with our customers, and something that we all do, is that we figure out, you know, where we're currently at. Now, Neil and I at Roos Consulting and our teams here have 3 very specific. We focus on sales and marketing, operational systems and processes, and then the talent management. And in each of those subsets, it can be pretty deep too. But we have very specific, SMART measurements of which we measure in each element and component. Then what we do is evaluate each department for our customers and then we quickly get to the heart of what's going on, and we embrace the entire business, not just what we think needs to be fixed, but we embrace the entire thing, and we become a coach and a cheerleader for our customers. Through this process, it's very systematic, very formulated. We've been able to replicate and grow our business day in and day out as we provided pleasure to our customers, who then provide pleasure to their customers. So the cycle repeats over and over again. Neil, any examples that you'd like to share on that?
No, what I do want to say, though, is for the callers that we have with us tonight, that the presentation they're seeing on their screen, we have that available free of charge. If they just drop us an email at info@roosconsulting.com, we can send that on. And the MindGenius Reader, it's a free application, so you can open it and play around with it exactly as you see us doing it on the screen here. Well worth having. It's far better than death by PowerPoint, as I would call it. So let us know if you'd like to have a copy of our slides, which can be expanded almost exponentially. And you may get some questions as a result of reading that stuff. And do please come back to us with any observations or questions.
Okay. So Neil,
I have a question if anybody can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I heard her speaking of networking events. I have tried to set up networking events, and I've had no success with anybody, gaining any kind of interest. I'm not sure if there's a specific way that you have in mind, but I'm based in Toronto, Ontario. I don't know if you're aware that is. It's a fairly big city, and I'm telling you, you just can't get any kind of traction unless it's unless it's like you got a major speaker or some sort of really big thing that's of interest, and I just can't seem to get any kind of interest in that.
Right. So the kind of network. What was your first name?
Terry.
Terry, thank you so much for your question. What I love about this forum is that usually when one person asks a question, there's several of us who have it, but we just don't ask it. So thank you for putting yourself out there. The type of networking, Terry, that we're talking about, because I've had similar experiences as yourself, where I tried to arrange networking events. And one of the things that occurs, I kind of relate it to social events. So if we're going to have a wedding, for example, and we invite 300 people, the numbers game of it says that probably only 200 are going to RSVP, and of that 200, only half of them, maybe 75, are going to show up. And one of the challenges we have when we're trying to grow our businesses is that we have such a limited amount of time during a day, right? So to reach the masses that we would need to reach the number we'd need to meet to get 25 or 30 people together takes just a lot of time. So the networking that we're talking about, if we can go back up to that, is a very different type of networking. It's making a list of the people I already know, and I call them my network of 90, and they may or may not be people that I think are going to buy my product or service, for example. So if I sell shoes, and I make a list of 90 people, I don't make that list with the idea that, Neil needs shoes, Mark doesn't need shoes, so Mark doesn't make it to the list, but Neil makes it to the list. I make a list of 90 people that I'm pretty well connected with, and I start there. And then I work my networking strategies from that list. Because in this day and age, especially as medium and small business owners, we're all starved for time. So we need to make the most efficient use of our time possible. I will say that there are some people who have been really successful at forming different types of networking groups, but they're usually not what you would think. So if you don't mind my asking, what kind of industry are you, what's your product or service, or what kind of industry do you serve?
In commercial office furniture.
You're in commercial office?
Furniture.
Furniture, okay.
Right.
So it's a very specialized market, right? And is it new or used?
We mainly do new.
New. Okay. So there's a certain segment of the population who's going to need new office furniture, and there's another segment of the population who will never need office furniture. So you have to find the people who need office furniture, right? And it's all about timing. It's all about, do I have what they need? Do they attach to me in a way that's meaningful? And is the timing right for them? So for you, direct outreach is probably going to be a pretty big piece of what you do, but setting up networking events may not be the best strategy for you. In fact, I would guess that probably it's not, because people don't get that excited about office furniture as something that you need, but not necessarily something that we get really excited about talking about, this great desk that I just put in my office. So
Randy, can I jump in there with a slightly different perspective on it?
Sure.
Hi, Terry. This is Neil. I, in the past, have always found going into a room full of people and trying to work the room to be a difficult thing to do, so I can identify exactly what you're saying. But you can turn it on its head by looking at it differently. If you go in and you're thinking the whole time about how do I get some business here, and that's all you're thinking about, you're approaching people and you're telling them about yourself. When the reality is the thing they're most interested in is themselves. So instead of talking about you, if you go to them and find out about them, because people love to talk about themselves. So as you learn more and more about them, in the course of your conversation, you may or may not see an opportunity there, but they're expounding about themselves, and you'll find out through that conversation whether there's somebody you can or will do business with down the road. So it's a little bit different from your standard, and I find that really works well for me, that you're giving rather than receiving, and then there's a reciprocation, I guess, at the end of the day as you get to know them as individuals, because then you start asking the right questions, and you may be able to turn it around to your advantage towards the back end of the conversation. But you always start off by being interested in them. Does that make sense to you? Terry?
He's watching, but maybe
Okay, we've lost the sound, but
yeah.
Okay, yeah. We're probably at the end of our time at this particular point. Just to sum up where we are, we hope that everybody continues to enjoy the series as much as we're enjoying putting it out there. We're going to continue to bring new ideas and insights to you in future programs. This one is all about leadership. Don't be shy in telling others about what we do, and invite them along by all means. And Larendee and me, we welcome people getting in touch. If you have any questions, you can do it through email. It's probably the easiest way to do it. And if you have direct questions, we can take them offline. We also have a range of programs to suit different pockets and can offer group as well as one-to-one coaching for those that require it. And if you need a business health check and a charter to follow for the future, we can do that too. We actually have a proprietary piece of software that will analyze any business. Very new product, nobody else has it out there right now. So if you're interested in having a health check done in your business, we can do it very, very quickly and painlessly for you. Next week's session is all about how you go and actually get that customer. Today was about approaching the customer, but next week it's more to do with how you actually reel them in and turn it into revenue for your business. Larendee, anything on your side before we conclude?
No, just again, thank you everyone for allowing us to be a part of your journey. We love our customers, and we love those who allow us to be a part of the process. So we'll look forward to seeing you all next week. And in the meantime, please do give us a shout out if there's anything we can help you with prior to that.